Welcome to the Blackout Show, presented by the Guillen Grid, a show about the Chicago White Sox baseball, the good, the bad, the ugly. We'll debate what's working and what's not on the south side of Chicago. It's old school versus new school baseball. And most importantly, we're keeping all the receipts.
Welcome into another edition of the Blackout Show. Gonzo on the ones and twos, getting us hot off the top. Along with Justin, I'm Slavko Bekovic. Thanks for joining us tonight. The NBA Draft edition of the Blackout Show. That's what I'd much rather talk about. But tonight we're going to talk about some more bad White Sox baseball. Gonzo, Jay, and myself are here. Ozzie Jr. is at the White Sox game tonight. Sox getting hit around a little bit by the Dodgers once again. Nothing surprising there. It's Sox Charities Night at the ballpark. And if you haven't seen already, the Sox are doing like the NBA Jam t-shirts with Chuck and Ozzie versus John Schriffen and Steve Stone. And right now, Chuck and Ozzie, to no one's surprise, are beating the hell out of them. So go to Sox Charities. You can pay, I think it's $25. You make a donation for Sox Charities and you get yourself a cool shirt. Ozzie looks a little bit more tan in his photo for NBA Jam than I think he is in real life, but that's okay. Ozzie Jr. may or may not join us. He's up in a suite somewhere. I don't know. They're just kissing babies and getting votes for November, I guess. The main thing we wanted to hit on in tonight's episode, other than just more bad baseball, is the return of Eloy Jimenez and the return again of some controversy and him being absolutely Charmin soft. We saw in his return the other day, guys, him coming up limp on the base pass, grabbing his hamstrings, some discomfort. I mean, this guy can't play more than like a week without having some soft tissue injury. What do you guys make of his return so far? Do you think the White Sox rushed him? A lot of people on Twitter saying that it was just too fast, and until he was 100%, there was no need to bring him back. But as we heard last week with Don Cooper, and I'm not sure that this, really played into his return and his comeback and the rehab. Maybe the White Sox rushing him back a little bit to see if you might be able to get him to raise that trade value. But Jay, let's start with you. What were your thoughts on Eloy, for now, not suffering another injury, but golly, he seems like he's just close.
It's sick.
Time. Yeah.
It's sick, Slav, because what are we asking Eloy to do when he's in the lineup? Make contact, just get to first base, get down the line safely.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, you want him to drive in runs and hit extra base hits.
Yeah, of course. But at the same time, we're talking about the bare minimum with Eloy at this point. Attendance has been putrid in his career. We can't even ask you to do the things you're responsible for hitting in the belly of the beast at 3-4-5 order. We're just asking you to clock in. Just get home safe, Eloy. And when you're in the White Sox are a bad baseball team. They're going to find themselves in a first to third situation all the time. There's going to be right fielders everywhere saying, "Oh, I got Eloy hanging out to dry, hanging around a bag or two." This is getting sad, and it's at the point to where you seeing Grifol at the top step waving like he's flagging down traffic, pointing at Eloy, are you hurt? Are you not? Tell me something. What's the point, Slav? That's where I'm at with Eloy. What's the point? Do you want to play baseball?
Jay, I think a lot of people are at that point with this organization as a whole. What's tough. The point right now? What's the point? When you turn on the White Sox every night, what are you really excited about? What are you really excited about going into next season or even this offseason or in the near future? there's a couple prospects to be excited about. Noah Schultz obviously has just been killing it. Colson Montgomery maybe struggling a little bit over the last couple months after he had a pretty solid start, but he's in AAA, still young. But outside of that, you have the number 5 pick coming up. Then the next year, you could lose 130 games this year and still won't pick higher than number 10. That's frustrating. Like, what is there to look forward to other than getting rid of all of this mess that they currently have?
It's sick. It's disgusting.
What you got, Gonzo?
So, as much as I'd like to see, the Sox get rid of in any way, shape, or form of Benintendi and Eloy, that would just lower the value of the trade package that you would package, that you tried to package them in. And I don't feel like that would be the way to go with how Getz should do it. In this situation with Eloy, you can just cut the club option this offseason. So at the end of the day, we're just waiting to get to this offseason. But in Eloy's situation, I mean, I just feel like Eloy's going to Eloy. At the end of the day, you're just taking risk for what the bat can do, and the bat looks healthy as long as he's healthy. Which, if he's getting games in below, he should have been ready to go, and I think he was ready to go. It's just Eloy, what we've talked about in other episodes. It's his fundamentals to play the game are lacking, and just doesn't know how to play at the pro level with his body. And any small thing can tweak him up, and I'm just hoping someone is eyeing him and hopes, hey, maybe we can change scenery. Maybe we can put some resources into actually getting the most out of him, and that's all I can hope for. But hey, if anything, whatever Eloy can do to get the value up right now is what I'm hoping for.
Gonzo, we've come to a point in Eloy's career to where he's basically, no disrespect to Franmil Reyes, but that's where you are right now. Like, at the end of the day, the White Sox are the only people that to guarantee to pencil you into the lineup. After this year, you don't know what your future holds, Eloy. Like, there's probably 30 teams in the league that got a player in their minor league system that could do what Eloy is doing statistically right now. Three for what? 23, 3 for 13 his last few games, his last week. Like, and those are just what? Little doubles down the line? What's going to happen when people start playing you to pull, really? Like, those are going to be double plays and out the inning, Eloy. So you got to get back into the spray chart, too. It's not about getting healthy with Eloy, and that's the scary part. It's about getting back into playing baseball. Like, you're already demoted you can't play the field no more, and now you can't even go up the middle or the right center field no more with your plate coverage.
Just to play devil's advocate, to be fair here, I mean, Tim Anderson did find his way to the Marlins, a guy that we feel like would have been in the league when we released him. Miami took a shot at him. This past offseason, the Brewers seemed like
we're talking about
hold up. Okay, well, there's still diminishing value there. So to go back to the past offseason, the Milwaukee Brewers were interested in Eloy. Could they be? I mean, look, they're
-1 WAR this year, by the way.
Yeah, and look what the Brewers just did. They just traded for Dallas Keuchel, who made a start for them. So I mean, I feel like maybe you get like I don't want to say a pretender, but a team that is willing to take a chance and who feels like they're in contention to take a shot at a bat.
But that's not the problem. Is you don't have to give anything up to sign Tim Anderson to a 1-year, $5 million contract. You don't have to give anything up to pick up Dallas Keuchel, who was sitting there doing fucking Joe Schmo podcasts left and right the last few months. Like, they're not giving anything up. If you're going to acquire Eloy Jimenez, number one, you have to pay him. He's making just under $14 million this year. Like you said, club option in 25 and 26. Next year is $16.5 million. 26 is $18.5 million. The buyout is $3 million. And I've seen a lot of people on Twitter saying this is the easiest decision that you can make if you're the White Sox. Cut bait, pay the $3 million, let him go sign for whoever. The problem with Eloy has never been talent. I don't even honestly think it's a desire issue. I just think he does not take care of himself. He does not care enough to properly maintain his body. He doesn't look like he stretches. He doesn't look like he's ever in shape. We've seen him lose weight and look slimmer, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's in good baseball playing shape. The fact that this guy cannot go more than a couple weeks without legging out a single or hustle double and hurting himself, it just shows, much like we saw with Carlos Rodon at the beginning of his career, he even owned up to it. He acknowledged himself, especially in the offseason. He did not take care of his body like he needed to. And the older you get, not that Eloy is old, he's only 27 or 28 right now, you have to take care of yourself as a Major League Baseball player. He doesn't do it. He does not do any of the things necessary for longevity. And when you're already not athletic and you're not in great shape and you have a terrible injury history and sometimes are a little bit lazy, those are not a good recipe. That's not a good recipe for success. That is not how you make a lot of money in Major League Baseball. And he's costing himself lots of money right now. That's another thing. As a human, as a person who's motivated as an athlete, aren't you trying to do everything in your power to prolong your career as much as possible, make every single penny that you can, whether that's with the White Sox or not? He got his contract when he was like, 22 years old, when Rick Hahn was giving out contracts to all the young guys left and right. Okay, he made his money, but he can make a lot more. The fact that he hasn't even come close to hitting his ceiling is such a shame. And it's really nobody's fault but his own.
And I do agree with you, but at the same time, like, this isn't just a Eloy issue, because what we've seen from multiple series where they're about to get swept, even in the hours before the game starts, you see the other team prepping, but you see like very few people on the Sox side that are actually doing their stretching. Yeah, everything is optional. So it's not just Eloy, and it makes me wonder, will a change of scenery help him? If a guy doesn't want to do it, I don't think that's the case, but maybe it does. Maybe he goes to a different organization.
Gonzo, like
it's the light switch goes off. I don't know.
I think we're at a point to where the Sox can cut bait with the Eloy for $3 million. Imagine somebody on a $3 million buyout on somebody else's team that can't be asked to run out a ground ball. They're fighting for their lives. You can't even ask Eloy to physically fight for his life, fight for his job. Like, how much value is in that? Because if you do move him, it's to a temporary situation. Somebody's trying to catch lightning in a bottle. Like, there's not enough material and foundation there to make a push for Eloy on the open market, in my opinion. Like, now, there are trades out there, but if I'm a team looking for a right-handed power bat and the White Sox say, hey, I got an Eloy Jimenez, I got to think about what type of assets I'm really trying to give up for that.
I'm not giving up jack shit for him.
And I think a lot of teams are at that point, Slav.
Look at what it's done to Luis Robert, who is obviously, he's got a better track record of success in the major leagues. If he's not hitting, he still brings you value defensively, at the very least as a base runner. So it's not all hitting or nothing like it is with Eloy. They both have a track record of being injury prone and not being able to play a full season. But when it comes to Luis Robert, the contracts are somewhat similar. There's a number of control. At least you can acquire Eloy Jimenez if you wanted to, and you still say, we have 2 club options. That's our control. We have 2+ years if we trade for him today to keep him in our team and get whatever we can out of him. Same thing with Luis Robert. The problem is Eloy gives you nothing if he's not hitting. And a lot of the time, if he's not hitting, he's not playing. And a lot of the time, even if he is hitting, he's hurting himself, so he's not playing. There is just no way right now to get honestly, I think he can go on a 5-week tear, look 100% healthy, hit 30 home runs in the month of July, drive in 40, and I still think his trade value is probably never going to be what it could have been.
Giancarlo Stanton got a bigger market than Eloy right now.
But he's not going anywhere, right? Why would the Yankees move him?
No, I'm saying, like, if there was a trade out there, somebody would probably go after an albatross contract with somebody just as extensive injury history as Eloy. They would probably pursue Giancarlo Stanton if the Yankees was willing to do that rather than cheap Eloy. Think about it. That's
agreed.
Sick.
I just, it's so hard. When we look back on this era, window, whatever the hell you want to call it, of what we just saw for this, 5-year stretch with the White Sox, as we kind of go into this next rebuild, you're just going to look back and say, Yohan Moncada made baseball look so easy. Eloy Jimenez was at one point just being physically on the field. I remember tweeting this out like 3 years ago. Literally just being available, he's going to accidentally hit 40 home runs. Like, that's how much awesome pure power. When Eloy is hitting the ball to center field, right center field, when he's driving the ball, it is so beautiful to watch. Same thing with Luis Robert. Like we know what he can be. We've seen flashes of it even last year over a more prolonged stretch. But you're just going to look back and go, what happened? How did they all fuck this up? It's just mind-boggling from the top down how this didn't work out. Yes, maybe. See, I can't even say like maybe we were too high or maybe we didn't evaluate the talent well enough because we've seen it. We've seen it. I remember that one stretch in, I think, 22, where it was Tim Anderson, Eloy Jimenez, Yohan Moncada, Yasmani Grandal. Who am I forgetting? Anderson. Oh, and Abreu. I can't remember. It was like the main six guys. When they played, their record was like 16-3. And over the course of like 3 years, they only played together 19 times because somebody was always hurt. They were never able to put it all together. I'm not going to say injuries is the reason why the White Sox didn't succeed in this previous rebuild in the 19 to 23 window, if we want to call it that. But it's just like mind-boggling that Jimenez is not taking care of himself. Rondon for a long time didn't take care of himself. Roberts had injury issues. And it's like, okay, if you have a freak injury, something like a Derrick Rose situation, which, by the way, the Bulls just drafted Matas Buzelis from the G League Ignite.
Yeah.
Get excited.
Welcome to the Bulls, Montas.
I hope he pans out. I lost my train of thought. It's just, God damn it, this team's so frustrating. That's all I got.
Man, but I think, like, looking back at it, I was happiest when Tony La Russa was here because the Brian Goodwins, the Billy Hamiltons, like those guys chipped in. We had the role players, we had the people in place. I think it was at a certain point.
How come you didn't mention Jake Lamb?
Huh?
How come you didn't mention Jake Lamb?
You know why? You know why? Shout out to Ray Lamb, actually. But I feel like we were just that Albert Bell move away. Something to just put us over the top. Because the nucleus of the team was there. We had a shortstop. We had a center fielder. We had a run-producing first baseman. I mean, our catcher was Grandal. He was B- at best. But still, you could win with Yasmani. It was just, you needed something to make us pop. And I don't think we made that move. I think the best offensive player we went out and grabbed at the deadline within that 2-year period was what, Cesar Hernandez?
Oh, man.
A dud.
Yeah.
A dud.
But how
give me a little bit more
when the White Sox would go out and get someone who was raking at some other team or a free agent like Adam Dunn, who was the perfect fit, and they fuck it up once they get here? Like, everyone was pumped about Nick Swisher. Everyone was pumped about Dallas Keuchel. He gave you one really good COVID season, 11 whole starts of greatness before the sticky stuff went away, and then he went to, like, it's just countless acquisition after acquisition. ESPN just had an article the other day. I don't know if you guys saw on ESPN Plus, The Insider, whatever the hell it's called now, about how Andrew Benintendi is statistically the worst player in baseball, and he is approaching a record of being the worst single season ever in Major League Baseball history. It's a fantastic read. I would strongly suggest if you have ESPN Plus, go look up Benintendi. It's kind of fascinating. The gist of it is, like, he's on track to break the record for like a -5 WAR season, which is crazy considering he is the biggest free agent signing in franchise history.
I'm going to throw up.
This is where we're at. The biggest free agent signing in White Sox franchise history is in the race, in the hunt for having the single season worst ever WAR ever in recorded Major League Baseball history. This is where we're at in 2024.
Just to go back a little bit, I don't want to blame Hahn for signing the core really early, because it does work for teams like Atlanta who signed their players really early, young. But at the same time,
his contract is such a bad one for him. His agent should have gotten fired if he hasn't already. That's terrible. Yeah. Great for Atlanta, though, to your point.
Yeah, just like they did when they traded for Sean Murphy and then did the extension off of that for the value that he got for the next 3 years after the first three were outstanding. But yeah, Acuna and they
Mercado.
then they traded for
What a
Matt
wonderful
Olson.
phrase.
But for me, for the White Sox, it was more so the character development of it, like really putting to the character test of, are these guys going to be worth it after they get paid? And I feel like for what it was worth, that wasn't the case for Moncada and others. So yeah, it wasn't putting that money with that character test with those contracts. And then when it came time to you hire La Russa to propel these guys, and then where was the premium talent to surround them that you're going to pay for? That never came. And really, you truly saw that after the 2021 division loss versus the Astros going into that offseason. You're asking for more and nothing came out of it because it wasn't just because of a few things, a few reasons, less talent, or, it wasn't just a couple guys away from beating the Astros. You needed more, and that never came. And they just had so much faith in their core that it just went off the tracks that quickly.
Yeah, in my honest opinion, I think, let's just take Yohan Moncada, for example. If the core was healthy during the span of his contract, we wouldn't think it would be an albatross of a contract, even with his injury history or everything else. It's just you got all of these guys on a bargain deal, and you didn't make the splash to get the return on the investment. It was just your best core group of guys are just on a cheap deal without nothing to give you any rewards, because you were just a fringe playoff team. You wasn't guaranteed to go to the next round. Everybody knew that there was a definite ceiling there, especially after COVID. Like, I think that the front office should have, but you can't override the owner, right? You can't override Jerry. I feel like if you felt like you was going to get fired, I think that was the opportunity, because you'll never get that talented crop again. And I think that you should have made a harder push to get those guys to the promised land.
To your point, Gonzo, I mean, I was a huge advocate of them signing Seager and Marcus Semien and John Gray. Like, I was begging,
Oh my
and
God.
it just didn't happen because of Jerry Reinsdorf. I mean, what the F?
Is this what you want?
Is that what y'all want? I had to get that in there.
Rangers ain't making the playoffs this year, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought a team losing 200 games in 2 seasons would just turn around and win the World Series? Anyway, so moving on from Eloy, because he's still soft. The other thing we wanted to hit on is the report that the Dodgers and Mariners are at least actively involved in the hunt for Luis Robert. And I believe the report from Rosenthal originally was also Garrett Crochet. The White Sox have apparently assigned scouts specifically for the Dodgers, Mariners, and Padres systems. I don't know what else you need to scout with San Diego that you haven't already taken a look at, but obviously, it doesn't hurt to get a few more months of video and in-person scouting on some of these prospects. Obviously, after the Cease trade and spring training, and we've talked about this in previous episodes, just how well the White Sox should know the Padres farm system by now. But, guys develop, guys change, guys learn new things, especially on the pitching side of it. You develop a certain pitch or learn a new pitch, and all of a sudden maybe you're a different prospect than you originally were previously. So that's the report right now. Dodgers are obviously going to be involved in a whole lot of trade talks with all of the injuries that they've had. Seattle, we know, is a really good fit on paper for somebody like Luis Robert or even a Tommy Pham. I mean, Garrett Crochet, I think, is probably going to have interest from every team that's above 500 in the next month. I was somewhat surprised to see San Diego's name get thrown out again with that scout report that the White Sox have assigned. But what did you guys make, starting with you, Gonzo, of those reports? I mean, it just seems to me that it's almost inevitable that the White Sox and Dodgers are going to find some deal for some player at some point.
I really was hoping to see the Phillies in there as well. for what it's worth. But I'm really personally, I'm hoping for something to happen with Seattle because that makes the most sense out of at least the position player aspect of the prospects, with everything and in comparison. Um, I wouldn't be shocked if it turns out to be Robert to Seattle and probably Crochet to the Dodgers, especially after the
You said
Dodgers.
Robert and Crochet to the Dodgers?
No. Robert to Seattle,
Oh.
Crochet to the Dodgers, especially after the Dodgers, their whole organization just watched Crochet shut them down, and that's a firsthand look at it. So, and to be honest with you, anything related to the Dodgers with their farm system, I'm always happy because I feel like they do it the best with all the resources they put into their organization, specifically their farm system and the minors. They do it the right way. So if you can get as much value as you can out of them, go for it. They're clearly going to be aggressive, wanting to win it all with all the money that I think it was 1.3 billion that they put in this offseason to all the money they put in for Otani and the rest of them. And that's going to be a very competitive division between them and the Padres. It's going to be, this trade deadline is going to be interesting, and I really do feel like it's going to be more active than it was last year for the White Sox. A lot of people leaving and a lot of spots on the 40-man roster opening up for our side of it. So it's going to be exciting. It's just what are those deals going to look like at the end of the day on what the Sox put their value on their players and how the other organizations truly put their value on the Sox players. At the end of the day, I think it's a win-win situation. Can Getz mess it up? Yeah, he could as a rookie GM, but at the end of the day, you got to wheel and deal because I feel like this is a situation where they're not going to be extending. Unfortunately, I feel like this is a situation when it comes to Robert or Crochet, they're not going to be doing those extensions. So the best time to deal those guys are right now before you lose another year or two of control on them.
I think I don't want the Sox to trade Garrett Crochet.
I don't either.
I feel like he's at a point right now. He's efficient. He's effective, and he's still young and cheap. You're going to need a head of the snake when you're starting to build this rotation. Like, you're already forming what you're trying to do going into 2026 and 2027. Garrett Crochet is the perfect pitcher to be the head of that, because you got to think about it. Detroit was in the same situation with Tarek Skubal. They had opportunities to move him. I know he had the same injury history, but they held on to him, and look at what blossomed behind him. Reese Olson, you did the free agency, you paid some money, you got a Jack Flaherty, you caught lightning in a bottle. Like, you could say the same thing. I know Fetty got popped tonight, but he's been pretty good for the most part this year. Like, I think Garrett Crochet is a good blocker. I don't want him to move him. Now, in regards to Luis Robert, I want him off my team. And I feel like I don't think the Dodgers would be a good fit, like, as far as like lineup, because it'll be a little bit clunky. You remember you got Max Muncy coming back. You got a lot. Will Smith hits in that area to line up. It's a lot of ways to hit into a double play if you're the Dodgers getting Luis Robert. That's just on like the MLB The Show level. Now there is a team out west that I do think could make a push for Luis Robert, but they got to win a little bit more games. I think the Arizona Diamondbacks are prime for a Luis Robert acquisition, especially with Corbin Carroll needing some right-handed protection, because you can't just feed him out there. You don't know what you're going to get out of Ketel Marte next year and beyond. I feel like Luis Robert, while you still don't have to pay the tab, is a perfect opportunity if you just need right-handed profile power, Gold Glove center field. So maybe not the Dodgers in my sense, but I think a mid-fringe team that just need a profile like Arizona should kick the tires on a trade. Like, what do you have to lose?
So I did say Crochet to the Dodgers, Robert Marners.
Oh, you sick.
But yeah, that's a good point with Robert to Arizona. especially when Arizona's arms come off the IR here, within the next month or so. They're still going to be in wild card contention, so why not? And we just saw Barfield come from the Diamondbacks front office, so he knows them best too. So
yeah,
I'm with you.
And Arizona has a history of making those type of moves. They made the trades for JD Martinez. Way before then, they made the trade for Adam Dunn. Like, these are guys that are gonna slug OPS. That's what they want to inject in the lineup. It hasn't been happening organically for the Diamondbacks since Paul Goldschmidt. Like, even Christian Walker was an invasive species 4 years ago. They didn't draft him. They had to go out and get him. Like, that's what they're missing. And right now, if the White Sox are ringing the dinner bell, I think Arizona should answer.
The one team that I desperately want the White Sox to get involved with in trade talks is the Baltimore Orioles.
Oh, yeah.
There is so much top-end talent. There are so many perfect fits between the White Sox and Orioles in a trade. It's just a matter of whether the Orioles are going to kind of soften on their stance a little bit of how stingy they've been not wanting to give up any of their top guys. And I don't blame them. Like, they have struck gold on so many guys and so many different draft spots. It's just the White Sox and the Orioles were in a very similar position over the last few years, developing, rebuilding, kind of this next contender. And holy hell, did the Orioles just nail it and blow it out of the ballpark, where the White Sox just blew it. The Orioles have so much top-end young talent and so much still on the way, whereas the White Sox kind of have everything, and it did have everything come all at once, and they never quite really panned out. And the guys that have, your Ceases, who is now gone, your Crochet, I guess for the time being, who may or may not be gone, and even he has had his issues since 20 with injuries and whatnot. But I mean, if you can get the Orioles in some sort of desperation mode where the Orioles think, all right, we are one big piece away. They've obviously had injuries with their rotation as well. Luis Robert is a guy that I feel like any team that's contending is going to want someone like Robert, someone like Crochet. Kopech, I think realistically, he might be the 6th or 7th best starter or best reliever on the market once the deadline comes. So I think I'm going to temper expectations there, but that's who I really want to see the White Sox scouting is the Orioles. I want them pushing hard. And if you are going to trade a Crochet, which I've softened on my stance there too, like since we had Elijah on, I was all about get rid of Robert, get rid of Crochet. You might as well just start from scratch. But realistically, if these pitching prospects maybe are a little bit closer than we thought, maybe he is the type of guy that you build around. But again, it's just a matter of there's two things involved for this whole conversation. Number one, if you are going to keep Garrett Crochet, you have to feel good about the chances of giving him a long-term extension. If you still feel confident that he is worth it from a physical standpoint, that's number one. And number two, you can talk all you want about, I'd rather keep Crochet, I'd rather trade Crochet, I'd rather keep Robert or trade Robert. It all depends on the trade package that you're getting back in return. You can tell yourself every single night before you go to sleep, you can pray and say, I'm holding on to Garrett Crochet. But if somebody calls you tomorrow and says, we're going to give you our top 3 prospects, and they're all, like blue chip prospects, you have to say, thanks, Garrett, I'll take you to the airport. I mean, that's just the way it is. Like, there's going to be, and we've heard it from multiple insiders in Major League Baseball, it's a seller's market to this point because there's very few teams that we know for sure are sellers. That's going to flush itself out over the next few weeks as we get closer to the deadline. But I'm targeting Baltimore specifically. I do, to your point, Gonzo, I like the Mariners as a fit for Luis Robert. I like the Phillies as a fit for Luis Robert. I prefer to hold on to Robert and Crochet. I think now, after having thought about it more, I'm leaning more towards trading Robert just because we've kind of seen what he is. And even at his best, he didn't really, it's obviously not going to fall on one player, but I think there's more value in keeping Crochet, building around 1 out of 5 than there is Robert 1 out of 9. All things considered. So that's kind of where I stand with that. But Baltimore is the team. God, I hope that the White Sox can get something from them.
before we touch on Robert, because I want to touch that a little bit, because I feel like Justin
I
will.
thought we've been touching on Robert
agree.
this whole time.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Just putting more emphasis on the reason to trade him, because I feel like so much of White Sox Twitter wants to keep him, and vice versa. Trade Crochet instead and build off of Robert. But Slav, I do want to put emphasis on with what you just said on Baltimore, because this is also a team that, besides Corbin Burns, you just saw Grayson Rodriguez kind of come back to earth. I don't feel like the way he's pitching right now, he's not really that ace that they were blowing him out of the water to be. And if you're going to be in a pennant race here shortly, especially fighting with the Yankees, a guy like Crochet, like, you might have to get aggressive there to get a guy of that caliber to really solidify that, to have two dogs in your rotation going to the postseason, that being Corbin Burns and whoever else, if it's Crochet or whatever arm's going to be out there. Baltimore should be hungry for an arm like that. Justin, you got anything to add to Grayson?
Yeah, I think Baltimore don't really need to be desperate in this upcoming deadline, because they already have A+ offense. They turn the leather pretty well, and they got a top 5 bullpen in the game. So if all you need is somebody to give you 5 1/3 with an abundant amount of run support, instead of paying the iron price for Garrett Crochet, you can go hit the thrift store and get you an Eric Fetty. Now, remember, they lost Kyle Bradish. You don't know what's going on with Dean Kramer, so that's 2 slots to fill. If I go out and pay the Garrett Crochet price, I'm only filling 1 slot. On top of, I don't know if Garrett Crochet needs an inning shutdown in August and September when I'm fighting for my life against the Yankees and the Red Sox are still technically a playoff team. Like, I can't put my eggs in Garrett Crochet's basket because I have World Series aspirations. There's still some doctrine that Garrett Crochet needs. He needs his innings managed, all of that. I don't want that on my plate.
Did you guys like that Pedro came out and said that the other day? Like, oh, we have a plan to limit his innings and we're going to have to watch his workload and manage it, blah, blah, blah.
I hated it.
To me, that was one of the most bonehead things. I understand, like you want to answer the question.
What are you managing? What do you have to manage? He's a strike throwing machine with perfect mechanics right now.
But you have to manage his innings. This is the most already he's thrown. It's only June 26th. This is the most innings he's ever thrown in his life. So yeah, I think everyone knows you're not pulling any fast ones. Everybody in the world knows you have to manage Garrett Crochet. But for him to come out and say that, I feel like really detracts from his trade value.
Yeah, I felt like the comment was unneeded, especially with how strong he looks right now.
Yeah, that's it. You just answer the question by saying, you know what? To this point, he's kicked ass. We're going to keep riding him. And until he shows us otherwise, he is our ace. That's it.
Yeah, and until you see the velocity start to dip, then you come out with that statement saying, hey, we're going to have a plan here. We're going to retract some innings or some pitch count, bring the pitch count down, do what you got to do. But to do it right now, especially with the All-Star break coming around the corner with how strong, you want him to finish the first half strong.
Gonzo, but the only, even if, let's just say, Crochet velocity dips to about 94, 95 consistently, I'm okay with that, considering the fact that he has a cutter. He can bail himself out with just throwing the cutter. He doesn't have to rip the slider through the zone all the time. Once he started getting the cutter over for strikes, that made him more economical. He went from a Ford Mustang to now he's a Toyota Camry sometimes. I love watching Garrett Crochet the 3rd through 5th inning because he puts that bitch on cruise control. That cutter is what's going to bail him out down the stretch. Like, I don't worry about Garrett Crochet's pitch count, even though, like we just had the discussion, we know he's on an innings limit. We know they're watching every tick. And I'm sitting here looking at the TV like, oh, he's at 86 pitches through 6. Good. Hopefully he's pitching a 7.
Right. And that's how it should be. Like, that one of the things I loved about Don Cooper last week and what that regime did with him and Ozzie at the helm was letting young guys get deep into ball games and trusting them to get out of jams in the 6th, 7th, and 8th, as opposed to just yanking them right away once they get into trouble in the middle or late innings. So yes, you'd like to see that with Garrett Crochet, but at the same time, you don't want to blow his arm out one more time, because then you go from having, the top pitcher on the trade market to nothing, and you can't use him actively now in the White Sox, and then you get no trade value if he's hurt. So I was just really, I don't want to say surprised, because that'd be giving him too much credit. I was just a little disappointed that Pedro Grifol just kind of was so transparent about the White Sox plan for Garrett Crochet. And I mean, it certainly didn't help his trade value. There's just no way around that. I don't know that, again, like, no one was getting pulled a fast one on Crochet. Like, based on his workload in the past, that he was probably going to have to manage his innings. But, if you're a team going after Garrett Crochet, you look at that and you say, well, yeah, okay, we might be acquiring an ace, but how many innings are we getting out of this ace? Do we have to limit him to 4 or 5 innings, or piggyback him, or have a long man ready to go, or, do a bullpen day?
And a perfect example of that, look at how Oakland had to trade Jesus Luzardo to the Miami Marlins instead of trading him to the Yankees or a contender. Like, Jesus Luzardo was coming off an injury, somebody who they had to doctor. That definitely lowered the value. Like, that could have cataclysmic results to the player and the organization just off that minor detail right there.
Was Luzardo traded? Was that in 20 or 21? Because I know he pitched against the White Sox in that series in 20, and they lit him up.
To be 21.
They crushed lefties.
It had to have been 21.
Any final thoughts on the latest trade rumors?
I'll just finish up with what my thoughts were on Robert, why I would trade him like this upcoming deadline. Me specifically is due to the fact with the inability to stay on the field. I think now that he is healthy, you really start to see them take the speed away from him on the base paths, trying to save his legs up. And I think that's one of the tools that you're taking away from the player, so it's not really benefiting you. Like, when you're talking about speed, you're not getting the speed on the base paths. That speed's coming in the outfield with the glove. And another tool that he's lacking is the arm strength in the outfield. I just feel like when you have a superstar potential guy, you're really just seeing the best out of him for his the bat and the glove, really, and just chasing down balls in the outfield, not so much the arm from that position. So for me, that's why me personally, I'm building off of a guy like Crochet, an arm like him, because he's just a dog at the end of the day.
Dog.
And he's a dog. He's proving it here at the pro level. And we don't know what these prospects are going to be at that pro level. So at least when we do bring them up.
Now we don't know about the prospects. Last week, you were all about the prospects. It's all about prospects with the young guys. And now we don't know.
I wasn't even going to say nothing, bro.
I've got my opinions on these guys, but I'm just saying with what we do know at the end of the day, we got one confirmed dog at the pro level.
I know you're a big Drew
That's
Thrope
a guy.
fan.
What was that?
I know you're a big Drew Thrope fan.
I want to build from Crochet, and I want to trade Robert, because I feel like at the end of the day, he really, in a lot of ways, especially defensively, with any ball hit up the middle, you're seeing guys going from first to third routinely. And I just feel like, as much as I do enjoy seeing balls get tracked down by him, it's just kind of like a toss-up for me, because I'm seeing guys get extra bases as well.
His footwork is not good. It's technically awful. Not very sound. He's a fluid athlete, and he can track balls down, but like sometimes his routes are not the best. We've seen him make some great acrobatic catches, but he can also miss time jumps. And then what was it, a few nights ago where he just dropped the ball? I mean, I think there's lapses mentally, and it's just another example of a dude who just doesn't go out there and give it 100% every night, and that's frustrating to watch.
And I just feel like we can get. I feel like it I don't want us to get pigeonholed in that position when I feel like we can do better there.
You feel like you can do better than Luis Robert?
I do.
Oh, that's a can of worms. I mean, I don't know,
because we've only seen it for one season. So
you are constantly moving the goalposts, dude. It is insane. Jay, what are we doing, man?
Well, you don't think we can do better?
I think you talking about in totality, like offense,
Gonzo's
defense,
constantly moving the
better than
goalposts.
Luis Robert. I mean, he's A- right now.
How many center fielders are better than him? And who are you getting that's better?
Ooh, Julio one.
Yeah.
I mean, even Julio, like
Harris.
I don't know.
Not-
Julio got a sub 700 OPS. Rate.
he's not been very good this year. All right, that's neither here nor there. I
But
get
he's
your
got
main-
more
I
than
get
one
your main
year
point.
proven.
Who's proven?
No, I said Julio's got more than 1 year. He's got 2 at the moment.
You got me fucking Googling. This is some bullshit.
I think Aaron Judge right now, everyday center fielder, but I don't know because a lot of center fielders be getting hurt. Like Julio and Judge for the most part, the only ones that be healthy. Michael Harris is hurt all the time.
Yeah, I mean, but golly, I mean, yes, by games played, technically, like Julio's rookie year was fine, like he was good. Or sorry, his rookie year was really good. Last year he was like
okay,
solid, like 818 OPS, 129 OPS plus. Like he was very good. All right, anyway, I don't want to get into a Julio versus Robert debate.
Slavko, let me ask you a question.
Oh God,
Do you
is it
think
about the Blackhawks?
No, it's baseball.
Oh, okay.
Do you think center field is the weakest position on the diamond in the MLB right now?
I am not prepared to answer that question currently.
All
I feel like third base and catcher really has been
I don't know,
the
bro.
two positions in the last decade or so where it's just really tough to find a really quality guy.
But like, okay, Luis Robert is an all-star player, right?
Absolutely. When healthy. All-star caliber.
The gap between him and the best is a bigger gap between him and the worst. And when I say that, I mean there's a lot of flaws in Luis Robert's game keeping him from being elite. And if you look at the totality of the center field position, you could say that about everybody. There's like Julio has flaws in his game. Anybody else that's healthy enough, because center field, they're always hurt. I think Luis Robert has turned into a product of his environment. Hurt, super talented, hurt, inconsistent. Like you could say that about many talented center fielders in the game. Buxton, look at Buxton. A little bit older than Luis Robert, but the same story.
I'm trying to find I think Baseball Reference has a WAR leaders by position.
Yeah.
If I could just find it quickly, it's very difficult.
Jackson Merrill is a top 5 center fielder in the game right now, and that shouldn't be that way.
He should get all-star votes.
He is going to get our all-star votes.
But like he should be up there.
I don't know. I feel like this is the worst brand of baseball in league's history.
And I think Ramos.
Because your commissioner actively hates baseball.
Yep.
I feel like Ramos should be up there too.
Ramos who?
Is it Helen, the Giants?
Oh,
Ramos.
Helio Ramos.
Yeah,
That's a creative player. That's a fantasy creative player. He's not making all-star team. Literally a fantasy flyer for 2 weeks.
Fucking lit it up.
Man,
Dude,
I mean, you're not wrong. Like
the NL's really, it's really open.
Darren Duran is the highest WAR in center field in all of baseball,
and he's gonna be top 10 in strikeouts this year. I mean, don't get me wrong. He has put together a decent season, extra base hits, stolen bases, runs. But when you look at the lapses in his game, like there are times where he just does not touch a baseball. Literally, like O'Neal, he's basically center field O'Neal Cruz with a little bit more contact. A little bit.
Sorry. All right. Finally, I found WAR leaders by position, center field. I guess technically Judge is 1. Jesus. JJ Bleday is number 2. Jackson Merrill, Blake Perkins, Jacob Young. And then you have Buxton, Bader, Myers. Julio Rodriguez is 9th. He is just above Jose Siri. Jose Siri is got a 684 OPS.
He's batting. I think he's batting sub 200. Slav.
He is.
Yeah, and he pimps the shit out of some homers though.
And he makes it, and he plays really good defense too. Like, okay, I want to put this out there, and then we got to move on, bro.
Yes, thank you.
My man Jeff Fry does not like the way Jose Siri plays the game. I feel like Jose Siri plays the game hard. He has a little bit of flair, but if
He has
you
a
look
lot
at,
of flair. He has a lot. Jose Siri is Jose Siri's biggest fan.
but he plays the game with love and passion. That's all you can ask. And especially look at his catches. He's giving you 110%. So if he hits a ball 500 feet, I don't mind him taking a peek.
I mean, I guess I would just, I don't know. It bugs me, man. When you have a 6-something OPS and you have 5 home runs and your betting or your home run trot is 35 seconds and you're fucking Euro stepping in.
I'm not with that. I'm not with
just
that.
fucking put your head down and go.
Yeah,
anyway,
I feel you,
that's
Slav.
just me being old school and
I
just
agree.
crotchety old man.
No, I agree. I agree with the trot stuff. I'm just saying, like, when he makes the catches and hits the bombs, that's cool. But you gotta have respect with the game too. Like,
all right, last thing before we do schedule and picks to click. 2025, we are going to have a whole new look roster. It feels like with this White Sox, and it feels almost inevitable at this point. We're going to have a new manager as well. Bob Nightingale reporting the other day. And anytime it comes from old Bob, you know that it came from old Jerry. Skip Schumacher, reportedly already a name being thrown around by the White Sox as a potential managerial replacement for Pedro Grifol. I think we all acknowledge that Grifol probably not going to stick around much longer. I don't know anyone, honestly, that's just like batting the table to like stick up for Pedro and keep him around. But what are your thoughts on potentially Skip Schumacher being your man in the dugout starting in 2025?
no, not gonna happen. I can't sign off on that. Slavko,
That's me.
do you see the Marlins right now? Like, do you understand? Like, they're gonna lose just like the White Sox.
They've been playing better the last week or so. They had like 3 straight walk-off wins. Tim Anderson, I think, is up to like 212 on the season.
Yeah. You're gonna what are you changing? Like, what are you changing? Like, don't get me wrong. I like Skip Schumacher, good utility player off the bench. The Cardinal way, yada to the fucking yada. But at the end of the day, once Luis Arias left that lineup, that was it. So unless Jerry Reinsdorf is signing off on a San Diego Luis Arias trade, bringing Skip Schumacher in too, what are we doing? He's not a manager that's gonna net you some games. He's not gonna outmanage the White Sox talent. So what are you bringing him in to do? He's not gonna teach these guys how to play baseball because you're not gonna have your core intact all the time. The strength of your team is pitching. What is Skip Schumacher gonna do with the pitching? I would rather go in my MySpace messages and hit up John Farrell to come help my White Sox than fucking Skip Schumacher. Like, come on, man. You know,
Gonzo?
I would take him over Pedro at the moment, but
I would take you over Pedro. That says a lot.
I just would rather aim higher here. And that's a tough question because do you want to go external or go with the internal hire here? Do you have faith in what
Who's
is
your
up?
internal hire?
It's looking like Santos at the moment.
Man, he's just, again,
And that's
no
another
experience
question.
yet.
It's another question. But look what he's doing with down there in Birmingham. What was it? First time making the playoffs in what was it? 11 years was it?
Yeah.
Slav.
Yeah.
I mean, you see how the culture is being built down there. Do you want to?
Is he throwing the pitches?
No, but he's the one,
He's
at
the
the
one
helm. He's the one at the
He's the
helm
one
in that
you know
culture.
what? He's the one you know what?
He's the one at the helm. So do you want to take that someone that the players are used to, bring them all up at once?
I don't think Project Birmingham includes an experienced manager. That's just my opinion. Look, I'm not trying to discredit what they've done in Birmingham, but when you have 6 guys with ERAs under 4, you're going to be a good team. It's also an outlier. Like you said, this is their first playoff appearance in 11 years. Like, that's embarrassing, number one, for the organization. Like, you should just by chance have a couple prospects at one point in AA that get you. And they played 2 damn seasons. It's like you only have to win first place in 1/2 to get into the playoffs. Like, that's how bad they've been for that long. It's just.
But to be fair, though, with his background as a pitcher, a lot of emphasis, on our farm system, like we said, at the moment has been the pitching prospects.
Okay, but we talk all about former catchers who become good managers too. Like, how's that working out?
Ramon Castro is going to be the new White Sox manager next year. Miguel
O'Brien. I don't know. I'm tired of internal candidates. To your bigger question, do you go external? Do you go for a bigger name? You want to shoot higher than Skip Schumacher? Who in their right mind is going to take this job? You have an owner.
What do you mean by internal?
You have an owner who doesn't spend and who might potentially be on his way out. You have a horrible cultural problem, the top down. You have essentially what could become a lame duck general manager who was just handed the job because the owner, and he just didn't want to go out of his way to go find somebody else and do a whole research. We were told that Getz got the job because we didn't want to waste time. We're about to fucking lose 120 games.
Ugh.
Who's going to take this job? Who's going to take this job realistically? So you can shoot high all you want, but no one's going to say yes, and you're not going to overpay because they're still going to be paying Pedro, and we know we're cheap as fuck. So they're going to find someone on the cheap. Skip Schumacher, I cannot speak to his managerial prowess. I do not consume very much Marlins baseball. I couldn't tell you a thing about him as a manager. I could tell you more about him as a very mediocre player. But
we asked the question to Berger.
I would love to go get the best manager in baseball, but you know what? That guy is not going to come to the White Sox. Not in this situation.
I was gonna say we did ask the question to Berger. It is a biased, answer coming from Jake because that's where he's at right now. But at least we've asked it to him, and it sounds like he had some high praise for him. But at the same time, what I wanted to get back to, Slav, is what was the last internal hire? Because we just went through 2 external ones.
Robert Ventura was the last internal one.
Right, but we haven't had that in a while.
Well, I mean, technically, Tony La Russa is an internal hire. That's about as internal as it gets.
Would you call one of the owner's best friends an internal hire, Gonzo?
I wouldn't say that's an internal hire because he was out of baseball for.
No, he was out of the dugout. He was in the front office the entire time. He was around the game of baseball nonstop.
He was in the Arizona front office.
But he wasn't out of baseball. He was in a front office. No, he just wasn't managing.
He was out of the dugout, though.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say that was an internal
you don't think it's an internal hire?
He started off way back in the day as internal, but that's not recent.
Okay.
That's not recent. Recency at all.
Even if it was an external hire in some fucking way. Yeah, okay, then Pedro Grifol and Tony La Russa are 2 awful external hires. And their last internal hire was Robin Ventura, which also didn't really work. But again, like we heard Don Cooper, he got the short end of the stick too. Like, there's guys that coaches want, managers want. And if you don't go spend and bring those guys in to help the cause, also, like, Robin Ventura had no experience. And I think the guy that we had before him turned out just okay. Okay, here, perfect example. Is Ozzie Guillen to you an internal hire in 2004? Because it's a very similar situation to 2020 with La Russa. Yes, technically, he came from another organization. He was the third base coach with the Marlins. But for all intents and purposes, that's an internal hire. That's a guy that you know. And don't nobody know Tony La Russa like Jerry Reinsdorf.
Yeah.
I just see his internal as in the system being internal. like
Yeah,
a
I mean, if they're
Santos.
trying to go for somebody on the cheap and swing for the fences, okay, go for it. I mean, they've been hyping up Justin Jerschley for so many years now. I mean, I feel like he would be the guy over.
Another one of Gonzo's candidates too.
Yeah, Jerschley would be the guy I feel like they'd go to first if they were just absolutely like mandated by Jerry that it's got to be somebody internal and cheap.
I think it's Santos though, because that's who Chuck was. That's what if Chuck is doing that interview with Santos over Jersley, I feel like that's for a reason.
Chuck interviewed Jerschley like multiple times the last few years
But not recently.
because they just made the playoffs and all their top prospects are there. There's nothing to talk about with Charlotte.
That was before the playoffs were. This was like he did that podcast like I think that was a month ago now.
Okay, were they still
ago?
having the best rotation in all of minor league baseball at the time?
It was oh gosh.
The answer is yes. Jesus fucking Christ.
It wasn't like what it was now. They weren't even in first place, I believe. I think they were like second and third.
It doesn't matter.
But regardless, I think there's more emphasis on Santos's development with these guys in Birmingham than Jersey and Charlotte.
What makes you say that other than the prospects are there?
Exactly. It's Project Birmingham. And then you look at what Jersey's working with.
Project Santos.
No, but he's with that culture right now.
We've heard this shit before. We've heard it with Justin Jerschley. And why have we stopped talking about him? Because there's no prospects.
Yeah, there's no prospects yet. And all those pitchers, we got to see if they're going to send them from AA to the majors, like what we've been hoping that they would do. The hitters are definitely going to go to AAA. But we got to see what this organization does with Birmingham right now.
But okay, Gonzo, even if the prospects get to the major leagues, what do you have to support them to make sure that they flourish in this environment? Like we don't have, let's just say, raw athletes in the minor league system to where we got cleanup hitters at the major league level to where if they fall, we could pick them up. There's no more Jose Abreu. There's no Paul Konerko. There's no Frank Thomas here to bring in the next regime, the next generation of hitters. So even if we find diamonds in the rough, they're going to be up here alone, fighting for themselves. Like it's hard to develop talent when you don't even have the nest for the eggs to incubate. Like even with the rotation, we're talking about our best pitcher to be the lead stallion on the trading block. If we trade Garrett Crochet,
regardless.
If we trade Garrett Crochet, who's going to protect our young pitchers for matching up against somebody else's 1s, 2s, and 3s? Like they're going to be sent to the wolves because now they got to face major league lineups on top of having to match somebody else's box score to get a decision. That's fucking tough, especially when the guy that's pulling the strings is a puppet himself, Pedro. You got to be careful here because we don't have the talent offensively in the minor leagues to say, oh, we're just going to bring up a phenom and it's just going to be okay. No, everybody needs help. Time.
So, Gonzo, would you rather have Schumacher or Santos?
Oh man, this is good. I'd say Skip.
You'd say Skip.
Yeah, I'd say Skip.
Why?
Just being under that pedigree in St. Louis.
Then why we fired Tony? Why the fuck we fired Tony?
Well, that was because of
man,
issues.
it's just a circle of mess. This is what we're in. We're in a web of bullshit. And
this is what you wanted to do, Slav. This is what you wanted to do tonight.
All right. Golly. All right. Let's go through this upcoming schedule and picks to click and get the hell out of here. This is so frustrating. God, I hate this team.
I love the blackout.
All right. Schedule upcoming. Guys, just within our inspiring conversation, the White Sox brought in Soroka in the ball game when they were already discussing a bullpen game tomorrow. So I actually highlighted Soroka to be at least 4 innings in tomorrow's game, but he's actually going 4 innings today.
Wrong.
So
Wrong.
yeah, that's wrong. And then Soroka, I don't
You
know
got
who's going to
Tanner
be.
Banks goes tomorrow. Like,
Yeah, I'm sure Banks will start it, and then we'll see how that. But you're just burning bullpen.
it doesn't
Today's
matter.
the bullpen.
It doesn't
Today's the
matter. They're
bullpen
gonna
game.
lose every fucking game anyway.
Yeah, you're facing Chris Sale in the Braves tomorrow, so
14 strikeouts for Sale.
you're just blowing out your
you're
bullpen 2
nasty.
straight days in a row, and then you're going to the weekend series starting at home on Friday through Sunday versus the Colorado Rockies. Friday's matchup is going to, and the reason why they're having a bullpen game tomorrow is because they're pushing the whole rotation to the weekend, and it's starting off with Thorpe versus Block, and then Saturday.
You sure it's not Thorpe? Are you
Thorpe
fucking sure it's not
got
Thorpe?
me again.
How do you do that?
I do it every
Oh,
time. I do it
man.
every time.
Like,
Um,
you blow my mind, Chris Gonzalez. You blow
Saturday
my mind.
is Cannon versus Hudson,
Kanan?
and Sunday is
Jonathan Kanan.
Crochet versus Quandro. Yeah, then surprisingly, Jay McMahon is batting 277, 14 home runs, 42 ribbies. He's having himself a year.
All-star.
All-star. And also another up-and-coming shortstop in Tovar. Jay, take it away because I want to hear your thoughts on just the 2 offensive bats that they got right there.
See, like we said it last week, you can't underestimate Detroit. We got fucking destroyed, especially Cannon. Now we're going into the same situation against Colorado. Talking about Ezequiel Tovar. He's a 23-year-old shortstop coming to his own. He's already paid. He's financially compensated. They gave him the keys to the castle, and he's starting to flourish. The extra base hits are there. The home runs are starting to creep up. But it's the other guys on the Rockies team that you got to be careful. Nolan Jones is getting his sea legs back underneath him. Brenton Doyle is probably going to be the best defensive player on either side of the ball for either team in that series. If I'm White Sox pitchers, you have to make sure that you don't put these guys in OPS counts. And what I mean is stay ahead of these guys. You do not want to be pitching to a guy like Brenton Doyle 2-1, 3-1. Why? Why are you putting yourself in that position? You're going to have El Huris Montero. Stay ahead of these guys. Like this Colorado Rockies team is a bag of poop. But you're bad too, White Sox.
It might be doo-doo.
Doo-doo, Slav. But the White Sox are bad too. Execute. You got Garrett Crochet pitching that series. There's no reason why Colorado should come down to the South Side and beat you in a series. I got the White Sox winning 2 out of 3. Be careful with Cal Quantrill. He's a better pitcher than his father, by the way.
I need to make a point on Cal Quantrill because I recall a specific episode where Gonzo was talking out of his ass, and I mentioned Cal Quantrill being a good pitcher, and he laughed at me. And yes, Quantrill had a down season last year, over 99 innings. He has a 3.5 ERA this year. His ERA on the road is 3.06. Cal Quantrill, outside of his one season last year, which is a down year with Cleveland, prior to that, he was like really freaking good. 3.5 ERA from 19 to 22, 3.5 ERA this year, and a 4.05 ERA at Coors Field. Like, this kid can pitch.
Yeah.
And I would not be surprised to see him absolutely shut out the White Sox, number one. Now, just to make me look like an idiot, they're going to shell him. Luis Robert, 3 home runs.
I'm
familiar with him.
I just want to speak on why he's had the success. If you look at all the Rockies pitchers throughout history, they get knocked around because their best pitch is a breaking ball. With Cal, it's a splitter. It's an elite splitter. So that's automatic action going into right-handed batters, hitters that'll love to pull the ball in Colorado. He's getting weak contact, Slav. He's getting himself out of innings. There is no way he should have that many quality starts pitching mile high. There's no way. The team is bad and the ball carries. Like, that splitter is the equalizer. The White Sox can get lulled to sleep with Cal. You got to be careful. You were right on the money, Slav.
I mean, 20 was a limited season, but I mean, his numbers were great between San Diego and Cleveland. 21, 22 in Cleveland, he was great. 289 and 150 innings in 21, 338 in 186 innings in 22. Last year, 99 innings, 5.24 ERA, but even his FIP was 4.79, so a little bit lower. It was just the whip went up with him, and he was giving up too many base runners. But his whip's down to 1.3 this year, still a higher end, but 3.5 ERA for a Rockies pitcher, you'll take that.
And then I just want to finish off with this. You look at his numbers. Look at the Rockies relievers: Justin Lawrence, Victor Vodnik. These are guys that allow inherited runners to score. So even if Cal gets into a little bit of trouble, the guys coming in behind him, that's a leaky boat. So I can't really put it all on him, because if he had a mature bullpen, those numbers would be lower. I can guarantee it. If the White Sox are lucky, they could get to the underbelly of the Rockies and get Justin Lawrence in a game in the 5th and 6th inning instead of waiting on them at the back end, Jalen Binks and everybody else. Do your work early.
What do we got for picks to click?
Well, that wasn't it. After the Colorado series, Sox start this on the road Tuesday, Wednesday, and
So
in Cleveland. They're in Cleveland. Tuesday's matchup, Fedde and Carrasco, who Cleveland just got back. Didn't know if you know that, Slav, as I just learned that today. Yeah, I
knew something before you. Oh, Mr.
You beat me
Baseball.
to it.
You suck it.
And he's been there all year too. How did you not know?
No, I thought he was still on the Mets.
So the fucking first place team that's 25 games over 500.
Yep.
You have no fucking clue who's on their roster, yet you continue to talk shit every day in the group chat to Gonzo.
Because he still has the Mets. He still has the Mets fucking profile on his page.
So
just look at his
stats and tell me why I should know that he's in Cleveland.
Does it matter what headshot he has?
No, I said look at the stats and tell me why I should know he's in Cleveland. He's not doing anything amazing.
When you Google,
look him up. Look his stats right now. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that he's pitching well.
I should look up Carlos
and
Carrasco.
I should know. Yeah, look up Carlos Carrasco.
Okay. And when I go to Baseball Reference and I go to 2024 and it says Cleveland.
Yeah, but let me know why I should know he's there. Do I watch?
Do you not pay
baseball?
Attention to this division?
Yeah, but he's not doing anything particular over there that stands out. Why has he done those 13 starts?
Yeah, he's not been good, but he's pitching for him.
Exactly, for a team that
he's there on a first place
team. They got the
team.
best record in baseball. They got the best record in baseball. Somehow with him. But in the next matchup,
fucking piss me off. God.
In the next matchup, it's Thorpe and Lively again. So Ben Lively having himself a good year.
So you know about Ben Lively, but you don't know about Carlos Carrasco.
Look up Ben Lively. Because I know he's pitching well for them. J-Ram batting 279, 21 home runs, 72 ribbies.
Gonzo,
and just like that,
drive me nuts sometimes.
We're gonna get beat up in Cleveland. Yeah.
Is J-Ram the only player you're gonna fucking highlight?
Well, I was gonna let you go into it, but go ahead.
Are you serious right now?
Josh Taylor
is batting damn near 400.
Yeah, he's batting 385. Might have been better with today's. I don't even look at what he did today, but you want to do another?
Cleveland literally. Let me tell you something, Gonzo. We have no fucking chance of winning any of these games against Cleveland.
Which, by the way, I agreed with you 2 out of 3 in Colorado. I forgot to say that. But
they have the
we're
best bullpen
swept
in the league. Do you know what that means? If they get into trouble, they're going to extinguish the fire and beat the fuck out of us. No matter if we jump ahead of them, it doesn't matter. They have the best pin in the game.
You want to know my favorite
Gonzo,
utility player for
about
Cleveland?
Gavin Stone entering tonight's game?
Gavin Stone?
Yeah, what did you know about him entering tonight's game?
He's doing well. He's got a 3 ERA.
Okay. Did you know anything other than that? Because he just shut out the White Sox. Complete
Well,
game
I haven't
shutout.
been able to watch it too much.
Complete
tonight.
game shutout. The White Sox suck ass.
Yeah.
All right, are we done with the
But
schedule?
my favorite
Let's
utility,
finish this
a
shit
guy to highlight out of Cleveland who they just brought up, who's
A
doing
fucking complete game shutout.
pretty
Slav.
well.
Let's answer this quick question. White Sox will have the number 1 pick of the MLB draft, correct?
No!
Absolutely not, because Rob Manfred changed the rules. Because the White Sox sucked ass last year, they pick number 5 in this draft. And because of the new MLB lottery rules, this draft, I mean, coming up in the next month or so here in 2024, regardless of the White Sox record after this season, this 2024 season, the White Sox cannot pick any higher than 10th, meaning they could lose 130 games, break an all-time record, theoretically be the number 1 pick, the worst team, and they still, because of the new rules, would not draft any higher than number 10. That's where we sit right now with the White Sox. Great question. Great question.
We don't even know how to
fucked it all
tank.
up.
And just a guy I want to put a little, keep your eyes on this series. And Daniel Sheeman. They just brought him up as a third baseman, shortstop. Kid can hit. That's all I'm going to say about him.
Daniel
I don't
who?
think Sheeman.
Sheeman.
Spell
I'm
it.
not gonna let no. S.
SCHNEEMANN.
He's
He's
another one of
27
those.
years old.
He's a
Yeah,
creative player.
He's a very creative player.
He's 27 years old.
Slavko, now you just learned something today about Cleveland. Congrats.
He's a 27-year-old rookie.
Yep, he is.
He's fucking Mark Payton.
Oh,
He just won International League Player of the Week. He's 32 years old and in AAA. You
Yeah.
want me to be fucking pumped about Daniel Sheeman?
I'm just
Cinnamon.
saying, keep your eye on the kid. Okay,
Okay.
that's all.
the
I'm
only
gonna say.
chance the White Sox have.
You don't want to talk about Stephen Kwan, but you want to talk about Daniel Cinnamon.
Oh, Jay brought him up.
No,
Kwan.
you brought Schneeman up.
No, Quan. You brought
No,
up
I brought
Quan.
Quan up. Yeah, because he's batting fucking 380 and he should be
Yeah.
on a promo.
I don't need to put any more emphasis on him because you just brought him up.
Okay,
Picks to click. Let's go.
Picks to click.
Unreal.
J1 with Nicky Lopez with the 6 hits and 3 ribbies. Good job, Jay. We are
I
now
told you,
tied for
Slav.
first place.
I told you I was gonna win with Nicky Lopez.
That's a shame. It's embarrassing for us.
So me and Jay are at 5. You and OJ are at 1. Nicky Lopez is off the board. It's going to go Jay, OJ, Slavko, then myself.
Well, Opie been a little bit. He's came back to earth. I think he 0 for 12 with 4 Ks last 12 at bats. I'm gonna go with Opie. He's gonna break out soon. Looking to take the lead on you, Gonzo, with the pick to click. I've been on a roll. Let's go, Opie.
Okay. And OJ's on the board, and his pick is Gavin Sheets again.
He
He
left
just hurt
the
himself.
game with a jammed heel. Apparently.
Yeah, I was gonna say he hurt himself today.
Yeah, but whatever.
That's OJ. We think would have seen that at the game, but Slavko, you're up.
I mean, by default, I'm just going to take Luis Robert
Wow.
Why?
because he's really the only major league hitter on this team.
Not
I
Daniel
just won
Sheeman.
with Nicky Lopez. Why you didn't pick Nicky? Oh, well, Nicky's off the board.
That's also true. The White Sox had 4 hits tonight, 3 singles and a Gavin Sheets double.
From
This is
Gavin
rough.
Stone.
Gavin Sheets left the game. Gavin Stone had a complete game shutout. Gavin Lux was 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts.
So only one Gavin enjoyed tonight.
That is a good point. Yes. Gonzo, who's your last pick?
I'm going to go with Eloy Jimenez
Why?
for my pick to click. Because I like what I'm seeing out
forgot
of
that
Eloy's
he-
bat. And
You coulda
picks
picked-
are as
You could have
stated on
picked
the board.
Benintendi.
No, I'm good. I'm gonna go with the Eloy. Picks are Vaughn by yours truly, Jay. OJ's going with Gavin Bonds. Slavko's going with Robert, and I'm going with Eloy. And those are your picks to click.
Man, the White Sox suck. I cannot believe that you won a week of picks to click with Nicky Lopez. It's actually embarrassing.
Yeah.
The White Sox are 21-61. They are 40 games under 500.
And just to take a look, it's kind of interesting at the picks last week. So OJ had Sheets who had 8 hits, but no ribbies, nothing, just 8 hits. Jay had Lopez who had 6 hits, 3 ribbies. I had Robert with 6 hits, 1 ribby, and Slavko, you had Vaughn with 6 hits as well, but 2 ribbies. So it's just interesting. They all had 6 hits for the most part, and just ribbies with production were spread apart.
You know what's sad? It's like
this podcast.
What can you expect? Like, Slav, you got Luis Robert, who's the most talented player in the organization, right? But you don't feel too good about that.
No. Like a year ago, if you guys went Vaughn and Sheets 1-2, I'd be like, fuck yeah, easy win, Pantera. And now it's just like, I really don't know. Fuck.
Gavin Sheets had 8 hits, probably as a first baseman in DH, and didn't score any runs, didn't drive anybody in, nothing.
That's hard to do.
Especially at that position, at that profile. Like, how many DHs would have 8 hits and don't drive anybody in? Who? Like,
one for the Chicago White Sox that are 21-61. Man, well, the White Sox lost. They got shut out 4-0. Last few weeks, this is when all of our viewers are starting to come in for the live show, but we've exhausted everything. I have no desire to hear Gonzo talk about Carlos Carrasco anymore, or Drew Thrope, or any others. Man, like, this is sad, guys. This is a sad, like, we are in a, man.
I've got something that's not sad. That is our swag shop. Brought to you by the Guillen family. If you go to, let me just get this on the board here first. Got to play with these tickers again. To access your merch, just go to the Guillen Grid. bigcartel.com. You get an awesome shirt of some of our best merchandise right now, with the highly brought product at the moment is, of course, this one brought in front of you. Those on the audio side not being able to see it, it's Ozzy with his face palm on his face with the amazing quote of, "Unfortunately, I am a White Sox fan." This is just the beginning to our swag shop and your merch that you can get. Stay tuned, more to come. Slavko, you don't look too excited. Why are you excited for this shirt?
It's a shameless plug for multiple reasons. Number one, it's just sad, like, that people would want to buy a t-shirt that says, "Unfortunately, I'm a White Sox fan," but like, that shirt goes so hard. That's the fucking problem. Like,
it's the truth.
And it's a quote. It's a direct quote from him. I can't. It was a week or two ago in a post-game show, and he literally was just like so dejected because he says, "Unfortunately, I'm a White Sox fan." That was also the same show. There's another shirt. I don't think we have the graphic, but there's another shirt on the same website that says, "You're telling me Jesus didn't play baseball," or something along those lines, which is also hilarious. And that's, again, a direct Ozzie Guillen quote. Man. Oh, did you see, by the way, Ozzy played golf with Bobby Jenks the other day. Bobby Jenks doing really well, managing
Windy
the
City.
Windy City Thunderbolts, right?
Yep.
I think that's an independent league team. I don't remember exactly what league they're in, but
yeah, they're
apparently Bobby Jenks doing really well, so that was good to see. Maybe we try to get Bobby on the show.
I could take him deep.
That'd be a good guess. Speaking of which, Thanks to everybody who watched last week on the Guillen Grid live on YouTube when we had Don Cooper on the show. Thanks to everybody who downloaded and subscribed to the podcast. You can get it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, pretty much anywhere that people are consuming podcasts. We have Is Jay Drunk chat mail in your balance. I mean, I feel like you've been nursing that one beer for a while, so I'm going to go ahead and say not drunk. Oh, he's just been pouring on the side. Okay, old style. What are you, a North Sider?
Don't worry about that, man.
Good for you.
I'm going through some things, okay?
Well, we wish you the best, and just drink your sorrows away. This is the best way to do it.
In fact, respect my privacy at this time.
So yeah, again, I wanted to thank everybody for listening and watching last week's Don Cooper episode of the Blackout Show. If you didn't catch it, it's still on YouTube on the Guillen Grid. You can watch the entire episode. Coop gave us like over 2 hours of his time. He was awesome. Told some awesome stories about Mark Burley. Told some stories about that 2005 run in general. Some behind the scenes stuff, conversations that he had with Rick Hahn, Kenny Williams, Jerry Reinsdorf regarding Brandon McCarthy, El Duque, so much. The Garrett Crochet situation in 2020 when him and Rick Renteria came up with the plan in Game 3 against the Athletics in the postseason. So really cool episode. So thanks to everybody for downloading, listening, watching. We appreciate each and every one of you that tunes in every week, whether you're here every week or just come in every once in a while to check in. We really appreciate it. So continue to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and watch us every Wednesday, generally 8 o'clock Central Time, right here on the Guillen Grid on YouTube. So last thing before we go, shout outs, thanks. Anything you guys got?
Don't disappoint me, Kyle Davidson. Also, Slavko, do I need to bring out my Teuvo Teravainen jersey?
You have the Teuvo Teravainen jersey? I'm surprised you can say that, first of all.
Here we go.
I do.
Here go the white people talking about their white hockey podcasts and sports.
I can't even ice skate.
The White Sox. The Blackhawks have the number 2 pick in the draft coming up. They're in a good spot, and they apparently made a trade potentially with the Canucks tonight. But that's for another medium. Maybe we'll start a Blackhawks podcast on the Guillen Grid, but we'll do it only in Spanish.
Oh,
that'd be pretty dope.
That'd be rough.
Sí, señor.
How much Spanish do you know?
No, mames.
I used to be fluent when we were in our honeymoon. True story. When we were on our honeymoon in Costa Rica, I sat and had a full-on conversation on the beach with one of the dudes just walking around selling me cervezas, man. It was awesome. And like the longer that you're around, I grew up on the east side. I grew up in a Mexican neighborhood. Good night. Ike's raised me. Thanks for watching. And we're about to get out of here too, but Gonzo has to bring up some dumb shit. Yes, I can speak Spanish. It's been a little while since I spoke it fluently, but I can get by.
I'm proud of you because I don't speak it fluently, and I have to.
Your last name
every day,
and I speak better Spanish than you.
That's true.
Fraud. Jay, shout outs.
Yeah, shout out to Asia, of course. It's wedding season. You've been knee deep in cake batter. We're going to continue taking all these people money. In regards to the White Sox, do better.
Yep. Shout out to my wife's cousin Ty. Got married last week in Indianapolis, and then a big White Sox fan, Rob Wyatrowski, an old coworker of mine, a good friend who lives here in the South Burbs. He's getting married this weekend as well. Just so it's funny you mentioned wedding season. And then shout out to Don Cooper for all the time he gave us last week. And then shout out to everybody, as I said, that's been listening, enjoying, interacting with us on the Blackout Show. We've had, I know I've definitely had a good time, unless Gonzo talks, doing this show. It's been a really good time, and we really appreciate all the support and everybody being involved. So shout out to you two as well. Ozzie Jr. is somewhere chilling at the Sox game. I hope they had a good night with Sox Charities. Go to Sox Charities website. You can get that Ozzie Chuck Garfien NBA Jam style shirt. Really cool stuff. So for Ozzie Jr., for Gonzo, for Jay, I'm Slav. Thank you as always for watching the Blackout Show. We'll see you next time.